Okay, so let's correct worksheet number 1. Tristan, you all just joined us. Ryan, Tristan, I saw your attachment. Very good. Ryan, did you do the genetics worksheet?
No, miss.
Okay, well, make sure and follow along because, I mean, genetics tend to be something you need to practice, all right? You can't just read genetics, you need to practice the questions. So we'll start with worksheet number 1, you all. All right, I'm seeing Jaden's answers coming in as well. All right, let's look at the questions and follow along on my screen. Okay, so each person will read a question, give the answer for the multiple choice, okay? So let's start with Alyssa, number 1.
Chromosomes are found in which cell structure? Thymus, the nucleus?
Very good. Nucleus, yes. Number 2, Janice.
A diploid cell can be represented by C2N.
Yeah, so di means 2, and this is just a symbol to represent 2 sets of chromosomes, so C is correct. Number 3, Jaden.
Which of the following processes occurs in mitosis? 1. Crossing over. 2. Chromosomes become shorter. 3. Formation of spindle. 4. Two cells divisions. I had A.
Chromosomes become shorter, formation of spindle. Yeah, crossing over and 2 cell divisions will be meiosis, not mitosis. So A is correct. Number 4, Keenan.
Miss, could you scroll down a little?
Sure. Number 4.
I still can't see it, miss. I think it didn't update on my side. But the answer I have is B, miss.
A. All right, the
B.
genotype. Oh, B. Okay, the genotype for a characteristic written as big A, small a. So anytime you have capital and common, you know off the bat it's 2 different alleles, so it's hetero. So all of the answers, they had homozygous in front. Then they had none of the above. Now, heterozygous dominant is capital A, common A. But there's no such thing as heterozygous recessive. That condition don't exist. So it's either it's heterozygous dominant or you could just put the word heterozygous. So in this case, we will go with B. B is correct. Very good. Right, number 5. Ryan, go ahead and try number 5.
Miss, I can't see the questions because the screen hasn't updated.
All right, let me reshare. The worksheet is posted as well, so you all could follow along. Okay, can you see number 5?
Miss, it's still loading for me. I'll just check on it on the
Try your
report.
end, yeah. Try your end. I'll try to fix this issue. You all see in my screen?
Yes, miss.
Okay. All right, Brian, to save time, you could look at my screen now.
Okay, miss. Which of the following sentences correctly describe an allele? Miss will be B.
An allele is an alternative form of a single gene. Yeah, that's the best answer. They also have an allele is a length of DNA in a chromosome. That's partially true, but it will be an allele, and two alleles make one gene. So it wouldn't be, it will be a length in both chromosome strands. And then C, an allele describes the physical appearance. Well, it's really the gene that is going to code for someone's physical appearance. So C is invalid. Allele is a genetic makeup. So some people would get a little confused because there are some answers here that can be regarded as correct. However, the most accurate one, the accurate definition that you all got in your notes is the alternative form of a single gene. So this is B. Right. Tristan, number 6.
An example of this continuous variation is gender.
Right. Now, when we go into variation, you would learn continuous and discontinuous. Discontinuous means either you fall into very limited categories. Either you are, like in this case, for gender, there's 2 genders, male, female. Whereas there are some characteristics where there are variety of options, for example, height. Everyone has a unique height. Some people are 5'5", 5'5'2", 5'3". There are so many 6 feet, so many in between ranges. So it falls under something called continuous, and we will talk about those. Likewise, with skin color, there are so many varieties of variation in tones of skin, and as well as the body mass. All right, some people may weigh 120 pounds, some people 115, all sorts of ranges. But gender, you speak about 2 gender, male and female. So we'll talk about that. All right, you all would not have done number 7. You wouldn't be able to, well, if you did it in school, you should be. We haven't spoken about hemophilia just yet. Right, so I'll stop at number 7. All right, and after today's class, we will be able to finish those remaining parts. But let's move on to worksheet. Now, there was certain questions I asked you to complete, so I'll just go back and check which other one from worksheet 1. So you had to do the multiple choice and number 4A and B. Let's go to number 4A and B. Right, same worksheet. Right, number 4. Complete the following table about genetic terms and their meanings. Right, so you have to put the terms that you learned. Right, so the length of DNA which carries the genetic code for a single protein. Now, bear in mind, you've seen the word allele already present. You've seen the word phenotype. So what is the accurate term for this meaning? Anybody?
Chromosome.
Chromosome. Now, when they say for a single protein and carries the genetic code, you have to think of something very tiny, something very small that is coding for proteins in your body. So in this case, it will be the basic unit of inheritance is gene. Right? Chromosome is the structure where genes and alleles are found on. And you have millions of genes on a chromosome. So when it says a code for a single protein, you think of the basic unit. All right, now we can fill in allele, right? Because we already have a definition. It's an you can put an alternative form of a gene. Very simple. Right, what you all got for this one? What is the genetic term for describes an individual's genetic makeup for a particular characteristic? That's easy.
The phenotype, miss.
Why you put phenotype if they give you phenotype here?
Wait, no, miss. Sorry. The genotype, miss. Hold on.
This will be genotype. Right, and well, you have to give us the meaning for the term phenotype. So how can we describe phenotype?
Its physical characteristics.
Physical characteristics. And you could even add in the word physical, visible characteristics. Right, so good. Now comes the tricky part. You see these questions? You have to decipher what is being asked. So I'm going to highlight some terms. Right, so of course you follow the steps that we did. Parental phenotype, parental genotype, gamete, your Punnett square, your F1 generation. Don't forget, because look at it. Each line in that working carry a mark. So if you just put a Punnett square and you just do it very, very shorten, you are not going to gain the full marks. Right? For this kind of question, you need to put in all the steps. So like a reader, part B. Janice, can you read part B for us?
A man is a tongue ruler whose father is a non-tongue ruler. The man marries a woman who is a non-tongue ruler. What are the chances of them having a child who is a non-tongue ruler? Use a genetic diagram to show your working.
Right. Now, first things first, when you have a question like this, read it a few times. Right? You won't get it off the bat. You need to read it a few times and underline some keywords. The question tells you the phenotype. Right? So they're telling you a man who is a tongue ruler. So let's underline that. The man is a tongue ruler. Right, we're not concerned with the father. His father is a non-tongue ruler. Okay, that's possible. Now, when I say tongue ruler, some people have the ability to fold their tongue into like a pleated form. You all ever saw that? Can you all do it?
Yes, miss.
No, miss.
And that is a gene that you may have. So if you could roll your tongue, you have the gene. If you cannot, you just don't have the gene. So this is what you call a discontinuous. Is either you have the ability to roll your tongue or you don't. And they say persons who tend to live in South America or Latin America, where they have to talk very quickly, that they speak Spanish, that language. They tend to have to roll their R's and their particular words that they need. So the ability to roll their tongue helps assist in their language, right? So that is the trait in this question. So what we are concerned with is, okay, what the parents have. The parents, the guy can roll his tongue, but he marries a woman who is non-tongue roller, so she cannot roll her tongue. What are the chances of them having a child who is a non-tongue roller? Use a genetic diagram. So in this question, now there's another diagram you could use, which you call it test cross. So I'll show you the two diagrams, but let's go through the working step by step. So I'll need a whiteboard for this one. All right, I'll leave the question in the corner here. So you could just look at the wording. Now, anyone, I'll look at your answers in a bit, but normally for this question, what is the first step? What did I teach you?
Applying the parental. Well, first you have to come up with a key.
Come up with your key, yeah. So you had to have a symbol for your tongue rolling and your non-tongue rolling. So let's get something appropriate. Now, in a population, if they don't tell you, like in this question, you don't know which one to use. You won't know which one is capital and common. Sometimes they will tell you this one is dominant. Sometimes they will tell you this trait is recessive. So you kind of have an idea. But this question didn't tell you which one dominant. So how you will know which one to use, like how to use capital and common here? What is a way you can tell which letter to use as dominant, or which trait to use as a dominant trait? What is a way if the question don't tell you? Aha.
Miss, will it be like the
Miss, is
first
it
one
having
as
the
the
ability?
Jaden said not having the ability. Okay. Ryan, continue what you were saying.
like usually the first one that's introduced in the question would be the more dominant ones.
Sometimes the questions can be stated like that, but we don't want to just rely on the first. Sometimes they could put the recessive one too. Now you ask yourself, in a population, think of it. Do you think there's more people who could roll tongue as opposed to non-tongue rollers? You tell me.
No, no.
Right. So there's more people who cannot roll their tongue. So if you were to ask your, let's say your class, how many people can roll their tongue? You would only see about 2 to 3 hands going up. So normally the dominant trait is something that is more common in our population. So in this case, we would use capital T for non-tongue rolling. Now this could change your answer if you did not select the correct font. If you put common in this event, if you put common T as non-tongue rolling, that will change your entire answer. All right, now you always ask yourself, which is the dominant trait? Which one stands out? So in our population, people who cannot roll a tongue tend to be the one that is more dominant, right? You don't go with which one is first in the question. That sometimes that could land you into a lot of problems. So I'll read it again. A man is a tongue ruler whose father is a non-tongue ruler, right? The man marries a woman who is a non-tongue ruler. What are the chances of them having a child who is a non-tongue ruler? So he can roll his tongue, she cannot roll her tongue. So we use common T now for the tongue rolling trait. Right, so we just put tongue rolling or tongue ruler. Okay, it would be much faster if I'd use the text box. Let me use this. So after you come up with your alleles or your symbols, now you come up with your parents. So you start with parental phenotype. Phenotype is given in the question. That's in words. So using words to describe the phenotype. So who is the parent? We have a tongue ruler mating with a non-tongue ruler. All right. Now we have to match the phenotype using symbols. So now you put your parental genotype. So for tongue ruler, now we understand common T is for tongue ruler. He is what? The man marries a woman he's a tongue ruler, so it's 2 common T crossing with 2 big T, right? For non-tongue ruler. Does not matter who you put first in terms of male and female. If you put female first, and it doesn't matter here. Right, the next step now is to draw your Punnett square. And I'll show you another way, another technique. So you put like a little box. You put the parents on top and other side. So again, this doesn't matter if you put the female on top and the male on the side, or the male on top and the female on the side. It will not change your answer. All right, so I'm going to put common T common T, big T, big T. Now, when you're crossing it and you're multiplying, we tend to use the word cross. When you're crossing the alleles, always put the capital letter first. All right, so big T crossing with small t. All right, you multiply top by side. And then you do it again. So big T, small t. Then you do it across here now. You multiply this one. You get big T. I know what happened there. Right. You get big T with small t. And then again, big T. This one will multiply with this. I'm just showing you. Right. So you get all of them big T, small t. Right. So the next sentence now is to come up with your first generation. So you call it the F1 generation. You can put genotype first in this part, genotype, because that is what the Punnett square is showing you. So all of them is capital T, common T. Then you have F1 generation phenotype. Who can tell me what does big T, small t represent in this case?
A non-tongue
Non-tongue
ruler.
rulers.
Non-tongue ruler, because you have the dominant allele, capital T. So even if the husband could roll his tongue, the wife cannot roll her tongue, there's 100% chance that the children is going to be non-tongue rulers, even though their father can roll their tongue, roll his tongue, sorry. So now we put the, in words, we put the phenotype, non-tongue ruler. And you also put your little ratio. In this case, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 chances, and all of the chances is big T, small t, this ratio is 1. Right? It's 1, which is equivalent to 100% chance you have a follow-up sentence. There's 100% chance that if a man who is a tongue roller marries a woman who is a non-tongue ruler, 100% chance that if a man who is a tongue ruler marries a woman who is a non-tongue ruler, their children will inherit the run out of space, non-tongue ruling gene. And I will just specify it's in the heterozygous dominant case. That's the, so it's capital T, common T, which is in the heterozygous dominant form. So that is how I will answer this question for 6 marks. It's showing all my steps, putting in all the information. I don't know why it does this. The font just changed. Let me try to fix it. Right, so if you missed out a line, here's your chance to, write in something that is not in your answers. Anyone got this correct? I'm gonna take a look and see what you all did. Very good, Kina, and I'm seeing you got it. You're missing some lines, however.
Miss, I don't think I got it. I put capital T and a common T for one side.
You got the parents genotype correct?
No, miss. I put
Now, if you put, okay, let's say you put, now we know for a fact the man marries a woman who's a non-tongue ruler. We know for a fact she's a non-tongue ruler, but they did say that the man is a tongue ruler whose father is a non-tongue ruler. So there's a strong possibility. Actually, no, wait. I'm trying to see if there's another combination you could have here. The woman is non-tongue ruler. Hold on, non-tongue ruler. So she is capital T, capital T. I was now going to say it could be capital T, common T, but no, we will leave it like this for the woman because they didn't hint anything as the man marries a woman who is a non-tongue ruler. They didn't say anything about her background. They said something about his background.
Miss for the man, I have capital T, common T. Since the father was a non-tongue ruler.
Well, that will mean you use, in your alleles, you would have put common T as tongue ruler and capital T as tongue ruler.
Miss, I use common T as non-tongue ruler and capital as tongue
Right,
ruler.
the other way around.
Yes, miss.
And what ratio you all got?
Miss, I got a 1-to-1 ratio, so I got like 50%.
So half, all right, so half of the chances the child could be a tongue ruler, half the chances the child can be a non-tongue ruler. Now in this question, since it was so vague in terms of who's dominant, who is, yeah, and then they give the father as a tongue ruler, we will also accept that combination as well. All right? So if you all put capital T, common T, crossing with common T, yes, we will accept that. So you should get a 1-to-1 ratio in that case. Right, so let me show you the outcome. Now there's another way to show a genetic diagram. We call it the test cross. So let's say you had capital T, common T, crossing with 2 common T. You circle your alleles. This is to represent the gametes. That's another step you should have, gametes, and you circle the alleles. Now for test cross, you have to be careful with your lines. You're multiplying everything on the left-hand side to everything on the right. But every time you draw and connect your lines, you put your outcome immediately. So big T will multiply with small t, right? This is just to connect and show which one is being crossed. So this is big T, small t. Anytime you're doing test cross, you put the outcome one by one. So then you do it again for this other one. Right? And you put the outcome right below. And then you multiply again. So you get small t, right? These two cross, and then you cross the last one. Small t, right? So this is the test cross. Whichever method you could use the Punnett square or you could use the test cross. What I recommend is when you are drawing your lines, showing which one you are crossing, put your outcome below. All right, because if you were to do it, connect your lines and then look to see what you multiply, you are going to be following the wrong lines. Now, if you have this is also correct. So you have two chances being non-tongue rulers and then 2 chances being tongue rulers. Right? So this is also what you consider a 1-to-1 ratio. You break it down into 1-to-1. Right, so you all kind of get the gist of this type of question. Let's do another one. So let's go to worksheet 2 now. Worksheet 2, you have to do number what? Number 2, 8, A and B. Right, I'm going to jump straight to the genetics aspect. So let's see. Right, so I should have the right, so there we go. So the first one is an actual genetic diagram. It needs a genetic diagram here. So this is something you'll need to show working. So I'll do this one here. All right, let me just make it bigger. So you all could see. Right, so with the aid of a diagram, determine the inheritance of eye color for a homozygous male with brown eyes, mating with a homozygous female with blue eyes. We did this, I think we did this one in class, but just to go over. Now, if you look at the wording of this question, and CXC tend to do it like this. They tend to give you, they will tell you which is dominant. So the question before was a little more trickier where they didn't tell you which one is capital, which one is common. In this particular question, the information is given. So let's write that out. So here we have brown eye is dominant. So I'll just use capital B for brown. And then they said the recessive form is blue. So that's common B. And they tell you exactly the parent. So they're telling you homozygous male with brown eyes. So I'm not going to put all the steps. It's going to take some time. So let's do it. I'm going to do a test cross. You call out the genotype for homozygous male with brown eyes. Let's get that down first. What would be the alleles?
Two capital B's.
Right, we have the male, 2 capital B, mating with, always put your multiply for mating, right? Homozygous female blue.
Two common B's.
2 common B. Right, when you're showing gametes, there's a line you could put gametes and just circle the alleles. A gamete is a sex cell, so it's only one from the male will be transferred, one from the female that will be transferred during the fertilization process. That's what gametes mean. Right, for the test cross, you're just multiplying everything on the left, everything on the right. So it's big B, small b. Big B, small b. You all should take down test cross too. In the event, they might tell you with the use a Punnett square, or they could tell you use a test cross. So you have to know both. Then you have big B again, small b. And again. So now they're asking, what is the phenotype of F1 generation? Well, we got the answer. This is the genotype, but what is the phenotype? If you have big B, small b, what is your phenotype here? What color eyes will the child have?
Brownness.
Brown eyes, right? Because B stands for brown and that's dominant. Right, next one. What proportion? When you hear the word proportion, you think of a percentage, you think of a fraction. That's the way you represent your information here. So what proportion of the F1 generation will be homozygous recessive? Are there any homozygous recessive outcomes here? You all seen any same letters at all? Come on, someone, you're taking long. It's either yes or no, you know.
Pardon, miss?
What's the answer here? Part 3. Okay, so I don't know. Remember, I'm behind a screen. I can't see a facial expression. So I'm guessing that you did not get the answer here. Now, it's very simple. If you look at the outcome, you only seen heterozygous dominant.
None.
Right, so the proportion, thank you. It's none or 0. Put 0%, put the word none. We're moving on. Okay, this one I will leave out. This one with mitosis, you just have to draw your steps for mitosis: interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis. 15 marks. This is a long time ago kind of question. Before before your era. Long ago, they had long questions like these. You're not going to get any kind of long thing like this, but they could ask you to describe metaphase or describe anaphase, describe compared to. They could ask you to talk about some phases. Moving on. Right, I just want to get the working out of the way, and we could always come back. You all had to do what was the other one? Question 8A and B, right? So we'll correct question 8A and B, and we'll move on to the other kinds of questions. So very quickly, let's go. What is meant by each of the following terms? Right? So Alyssa, how do you describe the term genotype? Right? Can someone give us a definition for genotype? Not hearing from Alyssa.
The genetic makeup of an organism.
The genetic makeup of an organism. Good. Phenotype, somebody else.
The physical characteristics represented by genes of an organism.
The physical characteristics that are represented by the genes. Very good. Part B. Right, so let's go to so here they give you a test cross now, right? The diagram below shows inheritance of height in a family. The allele for tallness is represented by capital T. So tall is the dominant allele. And the allele for shortness is represented by common T, recessive. So here we have a father who is tall, the mother is short. The father is carrying the recessive allele, but he's still tall because he have the dominant one, right? So now you have to put what is the term designated X. So X will stand for gametes. Because the alleles are circled here, this line would have represented gametes. All right, so write that in. Some people just get that one wrong. Gametes. Part 2. Which of the offspring would be homozygous recessive? So you have to multiply these now. Let's work it out. Right, so let me get a new page in the corner here. Right, you all should work it out before. We have big T, small t, small t, small t. Right, so let's multiply. Right, so this would have been A. What is A? What is A?
Big T and small T, miss.
Big
Homozygous
T, small
dominant.
t. Good. B.
Homozygous dominant. Wait, no. Recessive, miss. Sorry.
Look at it. I don't want to hear homozygous. I want to
Oh, yeah,
hear symbols.
Big T and small T. Sorry.
Big T, small t. So this is A. This was B. C.
Small T and small T.
The rest of you should be saying it along, eh? Last one.
Small T and small T.
Right. So now we have our outcomes. Now they said which of the offspring will be homos. So in order to know this, you had to work it out, eh? By the way. Right. Which of the offspring will be homozygous recessive? Anybody who homozygous recessive here? Who's homozygous recessive?
C and D, miss.
C and D because it's common T, common T. Both of alleles are in the recessive form. Which one is homozygous dominant?
A and B, miss.
Wouldn't it be, now if it's homo, wouldn't it be 2 capital T? This condition is hetero. When you have capital, common, hetero. So this is 0. Or put none. Put the word none. Right? Some people fall for that. Part 3. Which of the offspring have the same genotype as the father? Now the father is capital T, common T. So who have the same as the father?
A and B, miss.
A and B. Good. Remember, if you all not answering, we'll just be sitting here. Right, so I'm gonna stop. We will be working out the others here shortly, but we need to understand these kind of questions, you notice, have some symbols, some little differences. Oh, you all could have done this one, you know. Did you all do C? Yes, I'm seeing some people did C. Let's correct C. Right, so here we have figure 4. Let's follow. Shows the inheritance of height in humans. Big C represents the gene for tallness. Small c represents this gene for dwarfism. Dwarfism is people who are stunted. They're like midgets, right? But it's not because they simply don't have that gene, you know, for a tall height. They are stunted kind of they have a stunted height. So here we have the father. He's big C, small c. So he's tall. The mother is big C, small c. So she's also tall, but they're in the heterozygous dominant form. So they're giving you the gametes, they're giving you the children. You have to come up with your genotype. So let's cross it and see. Right, so look at your working. Big C, small c. I always like to have a little multiply sign, so it's not confusing, right? So what is Nadia's genotype? Who can tell me off the bat? Nadia.
Capital C, miss.
Very good. Then we're moving on to, now, if you were to sit down and look at the lines like that, it's going to be confusing. So I'm just going to follow. Now they have, if you look at it, what they have is C stretching all the way to Nisha, this one here. This, big C, small c. You all seen that? So it's actually, wait, hold on. They have big C. And then they have, okay, I see what they did. They multiplied this weird way. They put this to confuse you, huh? So C is, okay, so this big C multiplied by big C is Nadia. Nigel is this one here. All right, let's do Nigel. So I'm seeing Nigel, they have C multiplied by big C. That's Nigel. How do they do that so? All of these are tricks to make you get confused. So Nigel, you're seeing this arm coming down and it going across. So it's small c by big C, right? You see that? Small c by big C. So that's Nigel. Always put your capital first. Then we have Nisha. So it's big C, small c. Right, and then Nick, I'm seeing small c, small c. It's just a different arrangement of how they cross it. Right, so here we have on figure 4, right, the genotype. Now you would have had to look at the lines, right? So you just look at the lines, look at the way they're touching. Nisha is big C, big C. Nigel is small c, big C, but you always put the big C first. Then you have Nisha. Nisha is connected to big C, small c. And then Nick, small c, small. Yeah, so this is correct. Right? You all got this?
Yes,
Yes, miss.
Now name the child who is homozygous dominant. So you put in the name of the child.
Nadia, miss.
Nadia alone, yeah. Right? So big C, that's Nadia alone, right? Name one child who is short, one child who is tall.
Nadia and Nick.
Nadia is what? Short?
Nadia is tall, Nick is short.
Right. So Nick is the only one who is short. And if you have either of these three children for tall, it's correct. So you could have Nadia, Nadia, you could have Nigel, you could have Nisha. They are all tall as well. Right, so let's pause. Very good. You all are catching on to these kind of questions. You're seeing their tricks. Very good. When we come back, we have a different kind of question, right? So let's take 15 minutes and we'll return at 2:15 p.m. 2:15.